Hi, I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes.
When I say y'all delivered on PB&J Gate, I mean, you really did.
Mhm.
This has been so much
Disgusted.
fun.
Disgusted. I'm absolutely disgusted. Let me look at the poll right now,
That's
because
what
the
I was
last
about to
time I
do.
checked,
Yep.
there was only 2 votes where y'all used different knives, and it was me and my sister.
Yeah, it was like 80-20.
Yep, still same.
So
That's
yes.
so gross.
So thank you so much to the 80% of you who are on the one knife situation.
I ain't eating in y'all's house, because that's gross.
Well, I mean, like we
All of your
said,
food's cross-contaminated, I'm convinced. You probably got mayonnaise in your butter, and you've got ketchup in your mustard, which can be cool, but not when I'm just wanting ketchup or mustard. So
But see,
not
I
doing it.
think the refrigerated, non-refrigerated component is important because if you're doing jelly first, then I think that's a no-no because then you're getting refrigerated jelly in your non-refrigerated peanut butter that's then sitting in the non-refrigerated peanut butter. But if you do peanut butter into your refrigerated jelly, then it's fine
Then you
because
have
it's refrigerated.
crunchy peanut butter. It is
I don't think
gross.
it would get crunchy though. Okay, I'm gonna do an experiment. I'm gonna get some jelly. I'm gonna wait till the jelly is like almost towards the end, so I'm not like wasting it. And I'm gonna intentionally put some peanut butter in there, and I'm gonna give it a few weeks and see what it tastes like, and see if it's crunchy.
I just meant because it's like going to be cold. So it's not going to taste like peanut butter should taste. As far
But
if you buy the non-refrigerated peanut butter.
yeah, I say some peanut butter is cold.
But the non-refrigerated peanut butter probably shouldn't be cold. It's gonna harden. It's gonna crystallize.
Okay,
It's
okay.
gonna be like your honey. It's gonna be like your
Okay,
real honey. It's gonna crystallize at the bottom.
so here's my thing. So I love peanut butter and ice cream, like any kind of ice cream that has like chunks of peanut butter, and I love that it's just like a frozen chunk of peanut butter. So I think I would like a cold chunk of peanut butter. I think I would appreciate
I mean, I
refrigerated peanut
guess.
butter.
I still don't love the idea of like eating a biscuit and then like a cold piece of peanut butter's there, or
Okay.
trying to get like a peanut butter cracker or sunflower butter cracker and there being like jelly on it. I still just think it's really disgusting to cross-contaminate like that. And I'm not
But
going to be
see,
convinced otherwise.
but I wonder if you would feel differently if you got to eat real good peanut butter and not sunflower butter.
Sunflower butter is good.
It's
My
good.
boss even said it's not that bad.
It's
So,
not. It is good. I will give you that. It is fine. It is not like one of those gross replacements that you're like, yeah, I'd rather just do without. It is good. I'll give you that. But it's not real peanut butter. It's just below that like wonderful burst of peanut
but I
butterness.
do also have a sister who can eat real peanut butter and parents who can eat real peanut butter who are still disgusted at the thought. So,
But also, according to our Instagram poll, it's really just your family. So
and that's fine. I'm just disgusted. Like I said, I'm not trying to convince anyone else to do otherwise. I'm just disgusted and I ain't eating at y'all's houses. So I don't know why everyone's trying to convince me to do it because I ain't gonna do it.
I wasn't trying to convince you to do it. I thought we were just having a discourse.
I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it. That's so gross. Oh.
But also now I feel like I need to know in which direction you make your PB&Js because I saw a Sam's message saying that it's okay if you do
Hmm.
the jelly first because jelly is easier to wipe off. And I was like, wait, people put jelly first? Because I've always put peanut butter first. So,
Well,
just
I think that's the thing is a lot of people were that I asked at least said they would clean the knife off first and not
yes.
just like,
Yeah. I don't
but
think
you saying you're getting chunks in your jelly and you're happy about
No,
it.
I said you scrape it all off. And you were like, but what happens if you get peanut butter in your jelly? And I was like, oh, that's fine, just because it's just some extra. But no, I'm definitely scraping the excess off. Like it's not like
But you're
a,
not like taking water and a paper towel and cleaning it off. So there's it's still on
well,
there.
I don't know, because it's been like how long since I used one knife because I used
That's
two knives
true.
for you that apparently was for no reason because Andrew was only using one knife this whole time. But Andrew
Yeah.
uses a paper towel to wipe it off. So,
Yeah.
but I don't
Also,
know,
it's not
like
just me and my family because Gail also said she uses too, and
that's
so did
true.
Sam. So there
That's
are
true.
isolated families out there, but
Yes.
yeah. My dad also told me this is how far he goes, is that if he is finishing off a jar of peanut butter and using a knife, he gets a new knife for the new peanut butter because that's cross-contamination.
Oh, that's
Because
definitely
he
a
worked in a
restaurant thing.
restaurant for
Yeah,
like
that's
so long.
definitely
I
a
don't know if
restaurant thing.
other restaurant people like feel that way or not, but like That's how far my dad goes, where he's like, it
Yeah.
is cross-contamination. You cannot do that.
Yeah. I mean,
But
obviously, like your restaurant and your home kitchen are much different. And how I make something for like myself is much different than how I would make something for someone coming to my
but it's
house, you know?
also if you're making something for someone, if you made me a jelly biscuit, you'd be killing me.
And that's why I don't, but Andrew might be.
And now I'm like, oh my God, have I eaten jelly at your house? And I don't think I have, but it's scary. It's people's homes are death traps, guys.
I mean, have you seen like
Death
videos of people
traps.
cooking and then people are like, "Oh, this is why I don't," like people who just like
I
never
will
wash
say
their
I've
hands. Their cats are walking like
mm,
right on their counters where they're cooking, like all kinds of stuff that you're like,
yeah.
"Ooh, that's
I'm
sad."
so I will say anyone who's eaten my cooking, my cats have never once been on a kitchen counter and never will be. Like they don't do that.
Yeah.
But that is kind of why I get like freaked out about eating at other people's houses because you just
Yeah.
don't know what they do. And I understand peanut butter and jelly gate is like very, very small on the scale of like what people do in their kitchens, but it's just proving a point that,
Yeah.
like what if they're making the little meatballs with the jelly and the barbecue sauce and it's their peanut butter jelly and then I'm gonna
I mean,
have a
that's a good point.
reaction.
That's a good point.
It's scary. It's
Yeah.
scary out there, y'all.
It's a scary world out here, you know? But I also was very much into our merch idea of our logo with peanut butter and jelly dripping off the knife instead of blood. But Courtney was not a fan. But I think that would be great. If
I
you guys
mean, we
want
can
this,
do
let me
it. It
know.
just makes me gaggy.
We'll
Oh,
have two
yeah.
different knives. We'll have-
Two different knives. Oh my gosh, that's the thing. I'll have a shirt with two different knives, and you'll have a shirt with one knife.
Is this our next tattoo?
I said you're not taking up any more real estate on my body, Jacqueline.
I just need you to get a
Um,
few more of your own tattoos first, and then we can do this.
but
Oh, goodness. Okay.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I know my family does like weird stuff, but
I definitely don't
at least I
think
don't use
it's
the same knife
weird.
for people.
See, that's the thing. Like, there are definitely, quote unquote arguments like this where I'm like, no, like this is this. Like, I completely get why somebody would not be okay
Yeah.
with that. Like, I understand that completely. Like,
Hmm.
I don't think it's like weird to want to use two
I
knives.
think
I
it's
just
interesting
personally
too,
wouldn't.
like people we've asked, like sometimes if they used to, it's like, well, I as a kid knew someone has an allergy and we
Yeah.
always use separate. Like it's interesting to see people's reasoning for using two versus one, you know?
Which makes me think, I had to unzip my jacket because I keep hitting my zipper and it's making a noise. Which makes me think, would it be a different situation if it was not a major allergen as one of the two foods here? You know what I mean? Like if it was, and I can't think of anything else off the top of my
That
head, but I wonder if
that
that
was
would make a
something that
difference.
derailed people I asked who knew I have
Yeah.
a peanut butter allergy. And I'm like, take that out of the equation.
Because now they're like, oh
Take
shit,
that
Courtney's
out.
not going to eat in my house anymore.
um I'm sure no one ever thought about that ever when talking about me eating at their house. But I think that's the problem. Is like my family did it not because I had an allergy. It's just because they did it and they would do it no matter what.
Yeah.
Like I said, my dad would use multiple knives to put butter on his cornbread because crumbs in the butter. See, that's the thing. Do you get weird if there's like crumbs in your butter?
I don't, but I also, again, understand why someone would. And
Because I feel
like,
like that's maybe like a comparison without an allergen.
yeah.
Like, would you then try to like wipe off? I mean, my dad would use multiple knives, but would you at least try to wipe off your knife before putting it back in the butter to like butter something?
I mean, like I do. Like if I'm like, like buttering something and I go to like butter something else, like I'll definitely if it has crumbs on it, like I'll definitely wipe it off before
Yeah.
I butter it again. But again, it goes back to like, oh, if there's just a little bit of butter left and I know that I'm gonna be the only one eating it, like it doesn't bother me. But if I know that someone else is gonna be coming over and using that butter later, then I'll make sure that it's a clean knife that's not gonna have crumbs in it, you know?
Hmm. Crazy. But I think this brings up a good segment of please let us know if there's anything else like this that you guys have found out amongst your friends and you want us to come on here and debate it. Because
Yes. We love a
we'll
good
just
debate.
be, have you heard of the podcast Taste Buds?
No.
It's one of the guys from Impractical Jokers and this other like comedian, and they basically come onto a podcast and they both pick a topic and they fight with each other, not fight, but like
Yeah.
debate which one is better. So
Oh, that's
like
fun.
if we did like chicken nugget dunking sauces. You would do
Hmm.
barbecue and I would do buffalo, and then we
Obviously.
would spend a whole episode debating about which one is superior, basically.
I like that. That's really fun. That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
I love a
So,
good, like, healthy debate that isn't,
yeah.
you're not debating anyone's human rights or anything like that. That's like like
I
something you
mean,
can
did I
actually converse
think about not
about.
being friends with all the people who picked one knife for a hot second? But I'm not. I'm just kidding. I don't care that much. I am just
I mean,
amazed.
but you have a dog in this fight as far as caring if you're eating at someone's house because it
It's
could kill you.
true.
So you are
It's
allowed to
true.
have those feelings. Oh gosh.
Oh,
Anyway, we have spent way too much
that's
time on PB&J Gate these last 2 weeks, but thank you all for participating and
yeah.
being here for this conversation. It's been
Hmm.
great.
It's been a real conversation starter for sure.
Yeah. And speaking of you guys who we appreciate, this episode was actually a recommendation from our newest Patreon subscriber, Julie. So thank you so much for the recommendation. I did not know about this one. Um, it's pretty wild, it's pretty dark, so just, hang in there. So a couple of sources were a CBS News article and broadcast segment, I guess, on CBS News, and also Murderpedia. One young Canadian filmmaker was so obsessed with the character from the TV show Dexter that he decided to reenact his horrific crimes. In October of 2008, in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, 33-year-old Gilles Tetreault joined the dating website Plenty of Fish. So once he was on there, he got a message from a beautiful woman named Sheena who asked him to go to dinner and a movie. He agreed, and she gave him the name of the street she lived on to go pick her up. She didn't give him like the exact house number though. She's like, this is like the street, like the garage door will be open, you can just come on in. So when he arrived and started to enter the garage, someone attacked him from behind. So Gilles turned and saw a man with a black and gold painted hockey mask. The man held him at gunpoint and ordered him to the ground and covered his eyes with tape. Gilles then heard a jangling sound behind him and like didn't know what this man was going to do to him next. So he's like, okay, like I gotta try to fight. Like he's getting something out. I don't know what it is. I gotta try to fight back. And so he grabbed for the gun. And that's when he realized the gun was plastic. So now he knows he does have a fighting chance of getting out alive. Like he's like, okay, like we're playing fair. Like
Hmm.
I can make it out now. So Gio punched the man, but like realized his arm kind of felt weak, and then he realized that the man had used a stun gun on him. So the man then punched him in the head when Gio started to run and then like grabbed his jacket. So Gio was like thinking ahead and he just like jerked his body forward to make sure the man has like a really strong grip on his jacket because he's like, oh no, like you're not getting away. And then he slips out of his jacket, which I'm just like, to think of that in the
Hmm.
moment is just amazing.
Yeah.
So he slips out of his jacket, gets underneath the garage door, but unfortunately his legs weren't working because of the stun gun, and so he fell on the ground. So the man who's attacking him grabbed him by the legs and pulled him back into the garage. So Gilles managed to escape again and then got into his truck and drove away. When he got home, Sheena's online dating profile had been deleted, and Gilles was like ashamed because he'd been like tricked and he was too embarrassed to file a police report. And he also just thought it was like a failed mugging, not an attempted murder. Like he didn't realize
Hmm.
that what happened to him was as serious as it was in the moment. And again, he was embarrassed because he's like, online dating is still sort of newish at this point. And he's like, oh, like I
Yeah.
got tricked into like meeting who I thought was this beautiful woman, and it was this like man who came after me. Like I'm kind of embarrassed. I don't want to file a police report.
I also did not know a stun gun could like paralyze you like that.
Yeah, like it wasn't like completely. It was just like he couldn't like sprint away.
Yeah. More so
Yeah,
so that it would like affect your muscles so much that you wouldn't be able to
yeah,
like after the fact
hmm,
run for a bit. Like I didn't think
yeah.
I knew that about stun guns.
Yeah, I don't think I knew much about stun guns, so I didn't really have any preconceived notions about stun guns.
I thought it was kind of like a taser where it's like "Doot," and then you're like whoop and then you're kind of like move on. Like I didn't know like a taser effect could last
Yeah,
longer than like a couple seconds.
yeah. I think tasers like kind of get you out for a good minute, don't they? Like,
Well, one thing I watched was that it gives you like an adrenaline boost,
hmm,
not like knocks you out. Because that was the John
interesting.
Benet Ramsey thing where
Yeah,
they like in that documentary I watched, they like used a stun gun and the guy like was laying on the bed and like jerked up and was like, ah,
yeah.
like, and then was like able to walk and stuff. So he wasn't like
Let's do some real-time research
But
here.
that's really that's really the only time I've watched someone kind of be tased like that. Like I know also when they do the police things, like they might go to their knees, but I didn't think
Mm-hmm.
it would be like, oh, I'm fighting and I'm getting out of my jacket and I'm running and now I'm falling because my legs
Yeah.
stopped working, kind of thing. Um, I didn't realize, don't know much about stun guns, but I thought they just stunned you for a second.
Okay, so that was funny. Sorry, I'm reading and listening at the same time. But um, so this is a Business Insider article that says that stun guns make your muscles seize up like a Charlie horse. So that would explain
Oh,
why um
yeah.
it would be hard to run away. Um,
For how long did it say? Like, how long do you feel the effects?
it I haven't got there yet. Hold on. It can also severely affect your heart because it's like
That makes sense because it's like
messing with like
adrenaline.
the yeah.
Shoot.
Can affect memory and cognition, so that can make a difference too with like
Mm-hmm.
mentally being able to like get away. You may have trouble processing new information for up to an hour after being hit with a stun gun.
So, how are cops allowed to use like stun guns and then expect people to follow information?
Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense. In a few
Anyway,
cases, electrical shocks have caused the testicles to twist up.
like their balls just
Yeah, like if
like
you're
like
hit
in the little
near the
thing,
pubic region.
you know, the little thing that's like five balls and you hit one and it goes ding, 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 and you know, they get twisted, then you can't
Yes,
ever untwist them.
I think just
Do the
like
balls
that.
untwist?
Okay, here's another one. Wait, hold on, I'll go back to that part. Let's see. Do the balls untwist? They can cut off blood flow to the testicles and cause the testicular tissue to die if blood flow isn't restored within 6 hours. But it is very rare, but
Yeah, I mean, that sounds kind of rare, but
still crazy that
kind of
that's
weird.
possible. But also the electrical impulses, nope, the electrical pulses from a taser strike usually only last about 5 seconds, and most people return to their normal muscle function right away.
Okay, so this is like a, so it can, you know, have lasting effects or not
Hmm.
based on the person. Okay.
Which I also don't know if he like got him again with the stun gun, like as he was
Yeah,
leaving, so it's like that was the
that's
second
true.
impact that was like as he's walking away. So
Yeah,
within those 5 seconds, but then he was able to get up and run away again after. So,
yeah.
Jill, I
It was
hope
just
that's
crazy
kind of
to
what
me.
happened because I feel like we just talked out our ass a little bit, but we used the Business Insider article, so we know what we're talking about now, and we know about testicular twisting.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
he was stunned like around his jacket, so I think his testes are fine.
yeah, yeah, I hope so. On October 10th, 38-year-old Johnny Altinger left for a date with a woman named Jen that he'd met online. His family and coworkers grew concerned when he didn't show up to work the next day because he was very responsible and it was out of character for him. And a few days later, Johnny's brother and friends received an email from Johnny saying he met a woman named Jen and he was going away with her to Costa Rica and will be back around Christmas. So they were immediately suspicious because they're like, this does not sound like him at all. So his friends broke into Johnny's apartment. His passport was still inside, and there were dirty dishes in the sink, and just nothing to indicate that he'd intentionally left for a long vacation. Like, you don't leave for months and just leave stuff
Hmm.
everywhere. And his car was also missing. So Johnny's friends went to police who started searching for both Johnny and also his red Mazda because cars are often easier to find than people, which I never really thought about, but that makes a lot of sense. Um,
Yeah, there's only so many places you can put a car.
exactly. Like, and you kind of can't, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but the police got lucky because Johnny had shared the directions of where he was meeting Jen for their date with his friends just in case. So the directions led police to the garage of Mark Twitchell. So 29-year-old Twitchell was a married father and a filmmaker, and he willingly led police into his garage and said that he had recently used it for a movie project. He denied knowing anything about Johnny Altinger or a red Mazda and allowed police to search his garage. They saw what looked like blood on the walls, and Twitchell told them it was just a movie prop from the movie he had recently filmed in the garage. Twitchell agreed to go to the police station to speak with detectives, but most of his interview was just him like bragging in detail about his filmmaking career. Like there's clips of it online and they're like asking him about this man who's missing and he's like, this is this really cool movie that I made and just like talking about his movie
Mm-hmm.
career. So,
Weird.
yeah. So his first feature was a Star Wars fanfic that did get a lot of media attention, and he also told police about his most recent movie, a thriller called House of Cards, where a hockey mask killer lures a man from the internet to his garage to murder him. So when detectives point out the parallels here because they're looking for a man who came to this garage to meet someone he met on the internet, Twitchell said it was really freaky, were his exact words. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So Twitchell agrees to let detectives back into his garage, and now he suddenly remembers that he recently bought a red car from a guy. Just always forgetting cars that I buy.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said a guy tapped on his window and asked him if he wanted to buy a car and said that he was shacked up with this rich lady who bought him a new one and he was trying to get rid of his old one. So Twitchell said he bought this car from the man for $40 and parked it at his friend's house. So obviously, Twitchell is now the number one suspect in Johnny's disappearance.
Mm-hmm.
And detectives also spoke with the lead actor from House of Cards, and he said that there wouldn't have been any fake blood spatter from their movie in the garage. So he's like, no, that doesn't really line up with what we filmed in there.
Mm-hmm.
But back inside Twitchell's house, detectives located a deleted file on his laptop. So the file was called SK Confessions, and it read like a diary of a serial killer. So it started with, quote, "This story is based on true events. The names and events were altered slightly to protect the guilty. This is the story of my progression into becoming a serial killer." And in another line, he wrote that he didn't know when he decided to become a serial killer, but it was pure euphoria. And this document also described luring a man to his garage and killing him with a knife to the neck. But given the recent movie, detectives couldn't be sure, like, if this document was his screenplay or a confession.
Yeah, that's true. Because it could be like, oh, that was part of the movie, or it was
Yeah,
like a prop or some. Yeah.
exactly. So detectives went to Twitchell's wife and told him that he was a suspect in a disappearance. She was obviously devastated and revealed that their marriage had been in trouble for a while. So Twitchell was having an affair with an old girlfriend and was lying to his wife and telling her he was going to work every day when he didn't actually have a job.
Why do men do that all the time?
I don't know. Like,
That's such a good, like John List, like all these people who just
yeah,
lie about going to work. It's so weird.
yeah, and to like get up and get ready and leave your house and be gone all day every day to like put up this pretense of having a job that you don't
Mm-hmm.
have is insane.
Yeah.
And they had been sleeping in separate rooms for a while as well. So they also discovered that Twitchell had a Facebook account under the name Dexter Morgan, where he compared himself to the fictional character from the TV show Dexter. So if you somehow aren't familiar with Dexter, if you were living in a rock somewhere, um, it aired from 2006 to 2013 and followed a Miami forensics blood spatter analyst who was a serial killer on the side. So on this Facebook account, Twitchell said that he had too much in common with Dexter. And this profile caught the attention of a woman named Renee from Cleveland, Ohio. So she was a huge Dexter fan, so she friended the profile. And Twitchell revealed his identity to her and said he was a filmmaker who was currently making House of Cards. And Renee was an aspiring writer and thought they had a lot in common, so they started speaking frequently and hoped to make some movies together. They spoke online several times a day, flirted with each other, talked about working together, just kind of had like an online friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And their conversations then turned to the psychology of serial killers and what would make them tick. And Renee said that she was upset with her ex-husband's new wife and told Twitchell that she wanted her dead, but was like, hypothetically speaking, how would you get away with it? So Twitchell responded that she should cut her into pieces, put her into trash bags, rent a boat, and dump the bags in the middle of Lake Erie because Renee lived near Lake Erie. So it's a
So
very,
exactly what
yeah,
Dexter would do.
exactly. So after Johnny's disappearance, Twitchell messaged Renee and said that he crossed a line over the weekend and he liked it. And Renee said at that point, like, she just knew that he had actually murdered someone. He then sent her another email telling her there was a murder investigation surrounding a garage that he had been renting for his films.
So Renee called police to report Mark after this email, and around the same time, police discovered Johnny's car, and it was indeed the same car that Mark had supposedly bought for $40. They also found Johnny's blood inside Mark's trunk, so detectives now had enough to arrest Mark. And on October 31st, 2008, Mark Twitchell was making his Halloween costume at his parents' house. Was he going to be Dexter, I wonder? Um,
Right. I also just thought that was a funny detail to include because I'm like, you're a grown man making your Halloween costume at your parents' house.
yeah,
Like,
very weird. So police got an undercover officer to pose as a film investor to set up a meeting with Mark at a local coffee shop, and police ambushed him when he was on the way to the coffee shop with from his parents' house and arrested him, and Mark Twitchell actually peed on himself during the arrest. So,
again, another detail that is just important to include.
mhm. He was charged with first-degree murder. So the document SK Confessions also detailed a victim who'd escaped and survived, so police were now determined to find out who that victim was. So Detective Bill Clark checked police records but didn't have any reports that matched the assault described in SK Confessions. So during the search of Twitchell's home, police also found a gold and black painted hockey mask that was described in SK Confessions. And the description of the first assault included that the assailant was wearing the hockey mask. So detectives went to the media and showed the mask on air and said they were seeking a man who'd been attacked by someone wearing that hockey mask. They said another man had been lured to the same garage and had been murdered, and his body hadn't been found yet. So Gilles saw the news and went to the police and told them what had happened to him. His description matched what was written in SK Confessions almost word for word. And because of this, they believed what was written about Johnny was also true. So SK Confessions described Mark hitting Johnny over the head with a lead pipe because his stun gun hadn't worked for Gilles. He said he then stabbed and dismembered him in the garage on a makeshift autopsy table, and large amounts of blood spilled on the floor. He wrote about putting his hand inside the skull and pretending to make it talk and, quote, chuckling at the total silliness of it all.
Just, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he broke into Johnny's apartment and sent the emails to his family and friends. He attempted to burn his remains in a barrel, but failed. Then he decided he wanted to dump them in the river, but was too afraid of being seen. So he drove around for a while with Johnny's remains in the car and even described sitting at red lights, looking at other cars, and knowing they had like no idea he had a body in the car, which is kind of also like so creepy that like you could just be next to a red light at someone who has like a body in their car and just be like,
I mean, did that statement make you wonder? Because it did me. Like, how many times have I been just like driving around and you pass
mm-hmm.
someone who had a body in their car? Like, it has to
I
have
also
happened at some point,
wonder
right?
about like houses. I'm like, is somebody kidnapped in there?
Mm, yeah,
You know, like you never
that's
know.
true.
So he wrote that he started looking for a manhole cover with plans to leave Johnny's body inside, but then SK Confessions ended and Mark never revealed where he actually left Johnny's body. SK Confessions was also very descriptive, with lines where Mark wrote, quote, I diligently set up my kill room, several rolls of painter's plastic sheeting, and a 45-gallon steel drum for the body parts, as well as a game processing kit, which contained a butcher knife, fillet knife, and a serrated saw for the bones. All of these items were discovered as described by police. So detectives found blood on the floor of the garage and also a piece of bone that was identified as Johnny's tooth. So this led them to believe SK Confessions was true. So Detective Clark took Twitchell for a drive to see if he would like identify the area where he left Johnny's body. And they had a camera in the car like pointed at him because they knew he loved media attention and thought this would be the way he like might confess because he's like loving this attention. He wants to be on film, and they're like, maybe if we give him like his big moment, he'll
Hmm.
confess. They told him it was like a movie and he could end the movie by revealing the location of Johnny's body. So a year and a half later, while awaiting trial, Twitchell finally gave detectives a map to Johnny's body. They followed the map and close to his parents' house, they found a sewer cover in the road that was marked on his map. Inside, they were able to see partial torso human remains, and the body was positively identified as Johnny's. So Mark Twitchell went on trial for the murder of Johnny Altinger in March of 2011, and Gilles testified about his experience and that everything described in SK Confessions had happened to him. The only witness that testified for the defense was Mark himself. He said there was a big misunderstanding and that he'd killed Johnny in self-defense. So Mark claimed that kidnapping the men was a publicity stunt gone wrong. He's planning on letting both men go because he just wanted to create like hype around the movie House of Cards because locals would come forward saying this had actually happened to them. And wouldn't that just be like the greatest press for a movie ever? Yeah. Um, yeah.
Hmm.
So Mark said Johnny fought back and that he ended up killing him accidentally in self-defense.
And the way that he just kept being like, I didn't mean to kill him. Like, I kidnapped him for publicity and he actually fought me. And then I had to fight him back and
Mm-hmm.
then I killed him. And I'm like, wait, wait, wait. But he wouldn't be in that position to be fighting you if you had not kidnapped him, sir. Like,
It
there's.
also doesn't make sense because, like, from Gilles' account and SK Confessions account, Gilles got away like you
Hmm.
supposedly wanted him to, and you
Mm,
tried to drag him back in.
exactly.
So it doesn't
Exactly.
really line up.
Yeah.
So it only took the jury 5 hours to find Mark guilty of first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. How do you say this journalist's last name?
I think it's Lillibune.
Lillibune.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So journalist Steve Lillibune started writing a book about Mark Twitchell and his psyche. So Twitchell called him himself and said, if you're gonna like write a book about him, he might as well get it from the source. So Steve said Twitchell was charismatic and he could tell he was used to like charming people, and he was really nothing like he expected. He learned that Twitchell would reveal more when he would like write to him versus talking on the phone. So like kind of like the SK confessions, like writing it's really when he is
Hmm.
confessing everything.
Yeah.
And the two exchanged approximately 30 letters, around 350 pages of writing over several years. He wrote a lot about himself, and Steve said he didn't see any warning signs that Twitchell would do something like this. Mark tried to maintain his defense and said it was a horrific accident of self-defense, and he dealt with his remains in a disrespectful way that traumatized him. In one letter, Mark wrote, quote, society in general has a fascination with the dark side of human nature. Mark himself said there was no root cause that led him to murder, and he wrote, quote, there was no bully or impersonably.
Impressionably. It's not a real
Imp-
word, but I think that's what he's saying.
okay.
Like
Oh,
nothing
yeah.
that was like made an impression on him, but he just made up a
Okay.
word.
Yeah, I was like, why do I not know this word? And there's a little red line under it, so maybe, okay. Yeah.
Like Jocelyn
So,
probably misspelled this like she does other words.
no. This man's crazy too, so I never know
Yeah,
what's about to come out of his mouth.
true.
Okay, so there's no bully or impressionably gory movies or video game violence or Showtime television shows to point the finger at. It is what it is, and I am what I am. In another letter, he wrote, I find the whole thing highly hypocritical. There's something obtuse about someone taking a savage glee and watching psychotics brutally murder dozens of people on TV, and then suddenly playing as though their stomach is turning inside out when this happens under totally unique circumstances in a real life isolated incident.
I just
It's just crazy that people will watch fiction that's not true, but be really upset about real life stuff.
like how in the world does your brain come to that conclusion? Like, oh, people love watching when this happens through actors on TV where no one is actually dying, but then they're horrified when someone actually dies? That doesn't make any sense. There's some disconnect
Yeah.
here, my guy. I don't really know
Yeah.
what's going on in that brain of yours. Not a whole lot.
Somehow, somehow Twitchell was granted access to finish watching the TV show Dexter from prison. I do wonder what he thought of the finale, if our thoughts are the same. I wonder if he got to watch the new one, Dexter New Blood. I wonder.
Oh God.
Um, so Michael C. Hall, the actor who played Dexter, was asked in an interview what he thought about Mark Twitchell, and he said it was horrifying that someone would copy the character's actions. Because I think the thing in Dexter too is he's never like pretending like he's a good guy. Like
Mm-hmm.
basically, it's like I have a serial killer tendency, and then I was taught the best way to like fulfill that
Mm-hmm.
need is to target people who do bad things. It's not
Yeah.
like he's like you know what I mean? Like in Dexter's mind, it's like I have to kill, and if I have to kill, I then have to do it in a good way,
Hmm.
not being like I just want to be a vigilante out here.
Yeah, it's
Like,
not like he thinks he's a hero. Like he didn't start
yeah,
doing this because he wanted to do the right thing. He started doing this because he had to kill. So he was like, well, I might as
because
well kill the
yeah,
right
because he
way.
was like fucked up as a kid, and then he's
Yeah.
like, I have this tendency, and his dad's like, well, let's do it in a way that
Yeah.
at least gets bad guys off the street, I guess. So in 2017, he was allowed to join an online dating site for prisoners, which I kind of find is surprising since his victims were found on
Hmm.
online dating sites.
Yeah.
He was eligible for parole in 2023, but there are no updates available, so we're assuming he's still in prison. So the book did come out by Steve, how did I say his name? Lillibon?
Lillibune, I think.
Lillibune. So the book did come out by Steve Lillibune, and it's called The Devil's Cinema: The Untold Story Behind Mark Twitchell's Kill Room. So that book did get published. So that is the murder of Johnny Altinger and the assault of Gilles Tetreault.
So yeah, just absolutely tragic case. Thank goodness this guy was caught as early on as he was because he
Mm-hmm.
would not have stopped. Like 100% this would have continued on for a long time.
Yeah.
And good on Johnny for telling his friends where he was going. Like that's how
Mm-hmm.
Mark Twitchell was found. I mean, I think he
And
would have
good
got
on
caught
Renee for
eventually.
being like, I think
Yeah.
something's wrong here.
Yes,
Like,
definitely. Because yeah, I thought the same thing when she was being interviewed, and I'm like, girl, there were all these red flags, and they got to the part where she called the police, and I was like, oh, okay, good. So yeah, so
yeah.
great that she did that as well. Both of these people leading to
I do wonder
finding
too,
him.
because, him being like, oh, you should kill her and cut her up and put her in plastic bags and like dump her. If she's like, oh, he's trying to be Dexter Morgan, because that's what Dexter does, is he
Yeah.
cuts people up, puts them in plastic bags, goes off on his boat, and dumps them in the ocean. If
Hmm.
she was like, that's kind of weird that he would say that, but maybe he's like really into being like this Dexter Morgan
Yeah,
persona.
like, oh,
And
I
then
am Dexter. Yeah.
so she kept trying to ignore it and then being like, I gotta call the police now. You taking it too
I
far.
I also feel like there's a big line between like a hypothetical discussion of, oh, how would you conceal a body? Because I feel like people have had that conversation before. I don't think that
Hmm.
necessarily means that you are a murderer. Um, but there's a line from that to, oh, there's a murder investigation happening like in my house
Yeah.
right now. I did something and I liked it. Okay, now things are we're
That
too far,
I
too
think is
far.
especially, I mean, because I thought it was kind of weird that she was saying that there was like a specific person she wanted to kill talking about it. So maybe she was like,
Yeah.
okay, like we're on the Dexter train with this response. But
Yeah.
then when it's being like, obviously he's taking it too far. He's not making Dexter
Exactly.
possibly references anymore. He's being like, I did something, I liked it. And she's like, oh, shit.
Yeah. Yeah, but my goodness. Thank goodness this guy was caught as early as he was. Again, thank you,
Hmm.
Julie, for the recommendation. Would not have found this one anytime soon, so I definitely think this was an important one to cover. Um, that being said, Courtney, what is your perk of the week?
My perk of the week is that I've had a very kind of busy year so far. And this past weekend, I got to just like sloth mode. I
The
got to
best.
just, and it was like raining most of the weekend. So I got to just kind of like wake up when I wanted to. I got to kind of lay in bed and scroll, kind of get up when I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to. Didn't really have anything like super pressing. Like I went to a Super Bowl party, but I mean, obviously that's fun and I could like take my time with it. But it was just really nice to just kind of have a weekend where there was like, I could take things on my own time. I wasn't jam packed. And it was just really nice
Mm-hmm.
because, I've been pretty busy with just different things. So it was really nice to have a weekend like that. And like the rain just kind of making it be like cozy stay at home weather. So,
I love when it like times up perfectly like that because it really sucks when you're like,
hmm,
oh, I want to be lazy and do nothing, but it's such a beautiful day because you're like, okay, I feel like I have
yeah,
to get out and enjoy the weather. So when it like
hmm,
times up that your lazy day is when it's pouring down rain, you're like, this is perfect. I mean,
perfect.
meant to
Yeah. And it
be.
always sucks too when you're working and it's raining because you're like, well, I
Yes.
just want to be curled up in bed. I
You
don't want
can't
to be at
enjoy the
work.
rain.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it was just a nice, relaxing weekend. And, like I saw someone share on Instagram, like, we're also supposed to live life slowly. Like, it doesn't have to be so fast. Like, you can enjoy these little days where you seemingly do nothing is not a wasted day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is my perk of the week. Jacqueline, what is your perk of the week?
So my perk of the week is that for Andrew's birthday, I got him a KitchenAid mixer, which was really just a present for me because we've had so much
Mm-hmm.
homemade bread and it's been delicious. It's,
Mm-hmm.
he's working through it the first few. He's like, okay, these were not great. And so he's has like his notes about like how he made it and
Mm-hmm.
exactly how it turned out. So now he can adjust and figure out like what's like the perfect, all of his different techniques and uh proportions and all that good stuff. So we have a ton of bread while he's figuring it out. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
been very delicious and I've been enjoying a lot of homemade bread. And that's
Yeah.
my perk of the week.
I used my KitchenAid a lot this weekend.
Hmm.
Haven't used it to make bread yet. I don't know. That seems like such a big undertaking that it's like
Yeah.
I don't know. I was scared of my KitchenAid mixer for a while. I was kind of scared to use it. I don't know why. For some reason, I just thought it was gonna like explode on
It's
me.
kind of daunting.
Um,
Like
yeah, it's kind of like my Instapot where I had it for like a few months, and every time I looked at it, I was like, I'm scared of you. I don't know how to work you,
I
but
we got rid of our Instapot because I was like, I'm afraid this thing's gonna combust. So
yeah, I haven't had any issues so far. So
I was
hopefully,
afraid.
yeah, it's kind of scary when you're putting everything in there for the first time. I still don't use
Yeah.
it a lot. I only have like a few meals I use it for, but
I mean, it seems like a
still
great
don't.
idea, but I personally am just too scared. So,
Yeah, but I also got an attachment for my KitchenAid, which I told Jacqueline that she should get,
mm.
where it like shreds. It has like all these different things, but I like for my buffalo chicken dip this weekend shredded 2 blocks of cheese in approximately like 3 minutes, and the majority of that time was just cutting it up so it fit in the hole. Like so, it was
And your
very
hand
nice.
wasn't sore at the end. I mean,
No,
beautiful.
it didn't take forever, and it wasn't like scared I was going to slice my hand or,
Yes.
then
And you
having to like pick up the shredder and like
scoop it
move the
out
cheese. And
and you
it
get down to
was,
that last little bit where you keep like turning it and then you're like, I'm gonna get my palm on
hmm
here. And yeah,
yeah, I didn't have to do any of that. It was really, really nice and also very easy to use. So
good to know. I will
highly
definitely,
recommend that for anyone with a KitchenAid. I know they have like 70 attachments.
yeah. My father-in-law has the pasta maker one and said it's super fun.
Yeah, that's another one I think would be fun, but I'm also like, seems really daunting.
Yeah. I think I'll just borrow his because I'm like, how often are we gonna make homemade pasta?
hmm That
So
sounds like that sounds like my retirement project, you
yeah,
know? But
exactly.
as someone who's cooking just for me and Kevin, and I'm like burnt out at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm just gonna cook the meal I know how to make, and I'm gonna put the pasta in the water. I'm
I
not
feel
gonna
like
make my own.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a fun like date night kind of thing. Where you're like, oh, like let's
Mm-hmm.
like do it all, go all out and like do it together and make it, an experience and not just like, okay, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
trying to boil some damn pasta so I can eat dinner.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But if you want to tell us about your friend debates, about your thoughts on this case, if you have any recommendations, anything like that, yeah, all of our information is in the show notes. But the most important platform that we are on is patreon.com/caffeinated crimes. We have a few different layer tiers there. So the lowest tier, $3, you get all of our bonus material, ad-free episodes, only $3 a month, only $36 a year. Um, like the conservatives say, just don't buy one Starbucks a day and you can afford us. um,
Perfect.
Perfect. But there's also as up to $20 tier where you can get a lot of different perks, stuff like that. So we have it all listed out there. And if there's anything that you think would be an amazing perk that we don't have that is feasible, let us know. If you would join because of that, we can totally add that in. And welcome back, Catherine. I don't think we've said that on the podcast.
Yes,
So
welcome back, Catherine. Thank you.
yes, that is again, patreon.com/caffeinated crimes.
And as always, any 5 stars that you can leave us on any platform. Apple Podcast is great because it kind of boosts those ratings, but Spotify or YouTube, give us a little thumbs up, all of those good things. Anywhere you can say that we are wonderful and you love us, it is much appreciated and it helps us get noticed a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. And in the meantime, go have a cup of coffee.
And don't commit a crime.